So we're back talking with Mick in part 2, and I'm going to relay a message to you guys during this podcast, and Mick's going to agree. The technology that is in the residential equipment nowadays, or it's transitioning into residential, like the inverter and the IoT connectivity, all that kind of stuff, this has been in the commercial space for a very long time. It's transitioning into residential. A lot of residential installers and technicians are losing their mind because they think it's too complicated, but it's been running in commercial for decades, proven out. So I'm going to give you a message in this podcast. So pay attention, listen up. Again, this is Mick, part 2. This is the HVAC Know It All podcast. I'm your host, Gary McCreadie. This podcast is sponsored by Cool Air Products, Master, Cintas, and SupplyHouse.com. Go to the show notes and click on the links to check these guys out.
Especially when you're coming up to like older systems, and because a lot of the newer ones, you could either pay for the Wi-Fi module, or the customer will pay for I guess a more of a high level type or high level model that includes Wi-Fi in them. We see that probably more and more here now, but it's kind of a nice go-to and sort of a low cost solution to start making your smart home, really, and most of those devices also link to Amazon Alexa or Google Home Assistant, and that kind of thing. And so we're sort of exploring that idea, mainly because for our trial, we wanted to get that user experience. We also knew there's a cost to roll out a technician. If you're going to put a device that needed to be physically installed on a system, wired into the system, then you needed the certain trades to be able to do that, qualified trades to do that. And so these devices are, the home user sets up, they connect the power on, plug it into a little wall outlet, walk through the setting up procedure with their smartphone, pairing their smartphone to the device, and then setting up the type of unit, manufacturer model in those smart devices, and then you're off. So within maybe 5 minutes, even less than that, you've got your heat pump that's Wi-Fi enabled and controllable from anywhere in the world. And so we sort of wanted to get that experience as well. And then working with the manufacturer, we used their native mobile app, so using the same app that the consumer uses, but we added some smarts behind it. And that was creating the demand response measures, demand response signals. And so that was fun too. So setting up different parameters of different levels of response, some that were more severe.
Can you explain the demand response, just so they know, just everyone that's listening knows exactly what you're talking about when you refer to it?
Yeah. So demand response is how I interpret it is if we're constrained at certain times of the year, whether it's summer peaking issue, winter peaking issue, because everyone's plugged in and using energy. What I can do is send a signal to a device, like a smart device, that can tell a mechanical piece of equipment, in this case a heat pump, to duty cycle the compressor, shift set points around, so we can either slow down the compressor or stop the compressor. And what that does is it stops using energy. And when it stops using energy, and you get like hundreds or thousands of these devices that are doing something similar in a coordinated fashion, orchestrated fashion, then the overall congestion potentially can move away or go away because we're using less power over a broad range of people or others that are doing it. So it's flexing energy down, and typically demand response is lowering your usage and lowering your power usage. It can go the other way, which is quite interesting. When you get too much renewables, oversaturated, too much energy on the grid, then you need things to turn on. And sometimes you can do that, either large industrials or something that can absorb a lot of energy. Batteries can do it, and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's quite unique. And it's an area I've been passionate about 15 years, playing around in demand response.
So
But
I have some follow-up questions on it.
yeah,
So we've over here talked about the utility companies shutting down your thermostat type thing, and it seems like it's similar. And there's a lot of people saying don't get a Wi-Fi stat because the government will control your
yeah,
thermostat. And I'm like, well, as far as I'm concerned, this is an opt-in program, is it not? You
correct.
have to opt
That's
in.
correct.
The customer says, yes, you can. If you're having energy issues in my area, I give you permission to take control of whatever it is to reduce it, to
Yes.
prevent any overloading of the grid type thing. So it's got to be an opt-in process, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, and so yeah, part of that design with this third-party manufacturer that we're playing around with, Ambi Climate, was making it as user-friendly as possible, but always giving the customer the option to opt in and opt out. And so, for instance, if we were going to call a demand response event targeting a certain region, a certain type of unit, but the homeowner had a party that day and had guests over, and there was no way in hell that they would be able to do it. They would get notified via the smart mobile application. They would receive emails as well. They could receive text message, um, and they would just go into their app and say opt out, unable to do it. They wouldn't have to leave anything else. It's just one click button. Um, a lot of times with those types of programs that you mentioned, the thermostat programs, I used to work for Honeywell, and that's what I did. I rolled out these programs throughout the US with other utilities. The challenging with those ones were they sometimes were locked and set, and that was the frustration that customers were feeling is, especially around, let's say, California, where it's a summer peaking issue. They couldn't, unless you were smart and you had to rewire a system quickly, you couldn't you couldn't get out of the event. Your system was locked in. And
Yeah.
they also provided some other type of benefits, whether it's a X amount of dollars off your energy bill at the end of the month because you did a number of events, or they gave away a thermostat, or something like that. So there was other, I guess, incentives around being involved in a program like that. But yeah, I mean, over time we've just got smarter. I think systems have got smarter too, to be honest. As you said, you're seeing more the inverter type where you don't have to turn them completely off, but you might limit the compressor to 50% or 25%, instead of completely duty cycling them, and so you've got a few levels of demand response that you can do, and obviously you try to pick ones that are less impactful for the end user, because the last thing you want to be doing is getting hundreds of calls from people that either are too cold, or turn them away from a program like that. You get a bad experience, and they just say, "Well, fuck this, I'm off." Like I'm not doing it. Um, and so yeah, but and also if something goes wrong with that system, you own it. And so sort of navigating around those things. And so we had a lot of fun with the Ambi Climate stuff, and creating and helping to develop the mobile application, and then getting customers working through some of their own issues. And sometimes the pairing process was tedious. Or sometimes it was difficult.
Hmm.
Wi-Fi signals were stretched, and that it only worked on 2.4 gigahertz. It didn't work on 5G. Like there's those type of things you have to navigate around, and people's Wi-Fi network dropping out. But yeah, we learned a lot going through it, and yeah, it really, really sucked when I got a letter saying the company was going out of business, and there was no backup. There was no follow through. And we did Solstice. We did. We could have stacked it with multiple different types of those type of technologies, but we were sort of really interested in this one because it had this self-learning AI built in around learning the behavior and temperature for the end consumer. And there was just yeah, and we had a good working relationship with the founder, and yeah, it was good, but it was frustrating too, at the same time, because as I got everybody set up and everyone happy using it, just as I
Yeah.
was starting to play around with the demand response side of things,
Gotcha.
unfortunately they went out of business. Yeah.
Yeah.
But others, around the country here have taken up the mantle and sort of running with that. We're seeing some more of the energy retailers get more involved. I think you have Octopus Energy there, I know they have that in the US. They're quite strong in the UK. They've developed their own heat pump, are now selling those to their customers with pretty. In the UK, they're doing it with a fair bit of rebate and help from the government. Yeah, if you get a chance, have a look at Octopus Energy UK and just type in heat pump, and you'll see the type of heat pumps they do and utilize. And they're doing two things. They're doing low cost heat pump installations, but then taking the energy resource and energy arbitraging that on the market, on the energy market. So they're making money that way. And what they do is they get a whole bunch of customers who have got these heat pumps, and when there's a local area network need, they're able to sell that energy and use that energy and basically, clip the ticket on the way. And they've been quite successful in the UK. I think the other thing I might have sent you the other day was heat pump company that's done a add-on retrofit to bring in an EV charging station inside the heat pump. I thought it was pretty.
An EV charging station in their heat pump. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's, I don't get sometimes I don't get too excited about it. This one actually got me pretty excited. I'll send you the link. The company, what's the company called? It's EVHACS. They're based out of Ireland, and they've got a sort of a retrofit solution for domestic heat pump system. So what they do is they take an outdoor unit. Let's say they take an outdoor unit. Let's say we talk about kilowatts here, which is I know you're more around horsepower, but like a 5 or 6 kilowatt outdoor unit from Mitsubishi Electric, let's say, and
Mhm.
that can be taken to their shop, and then they basically implant a EV charging station inside the outdoor unit. And so if you've got applications where, you've got your driveway and there's a heat pump serving, let's say, a living room area or whatnot, and you just happen to have the outdoor unit alongside the driveway, you could plug into it. And it's got some pretty amazing tech in there. I guess what they claim is that, you don't have to run separate cabling. Cabling's already there because it's serving the heat pump and it's sized at the right size. Um, it does load balancing between the two, so it knows when the heat pump's running, and it won't draw minimal charge at that case. And when the heat pump turns off, then it goes the other way and then starts boosting and putting power into.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
so like 7 kilowatt, and I thought that was kind of unique and pretty interesting, given the topic of electrification and other ways these amazing resources can be used and leveraged. Our air conditioning world of things, and yeah, I'm not quite sure what else I'm going down the train here, but
I want to get your opinion on one last thing before
yeah.
we end the podcast. So there's a lot of advancement in technology, connectivity, IoT, all that kind of stuff. So I had one of my colleagues, Ben, went down to AHR, and he filmed a video at the Ecor booth, and
Oh, yeah.
ECO is ECOER. So uh, they have an inverter-driven heat pump, okay, but it's got a self-charging mode on it. So this blew up. This is like almost
Wow.
it's got over 500,000 views on Instagram, just this video alone. So the way it works is you install it, you pull a vacuum, you open up the the valves, allow the line set to go in, the refrigerant to go into the line set, and you turn it on and you let it run. And it's got a self-charging mode. So all you have to do, and this is only for the trim charge or the top, like the charge to get so if the line set is longer than what the charge accepts. So let's say in the manual, you open it up, it says, okay, the charge in the outdoor unit is good for 25 feet. Well, let's say it's 50 feet and you have to add refrigerant to it.
Yeah.
Well, it's got a self-charging mode. So you attach your hose. Obviously, you're going to purge it out of air, whatever you got to do. And the hose is directly attached to the tank. You put it into self-charging mode, and it's obviously got like some sort of solenoid that will open, and it will just pull in the right amount of refrigerant till that thing is running optimally. You don't have to have a technician calculate the weight and weigh it in. It's just all done through its
Technology, yeah.
smart technology. So the video on that got a lot of negative reviews, or a lot of negative engagement, I should say, because they think that this technology will steal their jobs. They think the technology is too hard to troubleshoot, uh, just so on and so forth, just things like that. And my thing here is it's just the trim charge. It's just the additional bit, and it's smart.
Mm,
It does it on its own. It erases error from the equation, makes you
mm,
look better as a technician, but there's a new skill involved here. There's a new
mm.
skill because that same unit, it comes with an app where if this is a separate purchase,
Yep.
it's basically a gateway. You tie it all into the system. There's an app. You can see the fan speed, the compressor speed, superheat,
Mm,
subcooling, pressures. You can see the current, the incoming voltage. You can see all of this on the app. But you need to go through a process of connectivity and
yeah.
IoT procedure and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, guys, this is not going to take away your job. This is actually learning something new, right?
Yeah.
It's learning something new that's adding to your skill set. And the people that go out and learn it and add it to their skill set are the ones that are going to advance further in the trade. The
Yep.
the techs that are reliant on equipment being simplified with just a compressor, a capacitor, and a contactor, these days are coming to an end.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, guys, you need to dig in. You need to research. You need to educate yourself on this new type of technology that is being implemented into our trade, and it's just going to make you a better tech. This is my
Yeah.
viewpoint on it. You tell me
I
what you think.
totally agree. Yeah, no, I think you hit, yeah, totally agree. And some of the actually a lot of the high level manufacturer brands and that we see here and you have there, they have those diagnostic apps for technicians. It's not just a mobile app where you've got troubleshooting codes, but you plug in a diagnostic tool, and so they plug into a PCB board. Um, Dakin has one. I use one for Panasonic here, which actually uses their existing thermostat. And so you get a lot of those readings too, Gary, on fan speed, temperature, the sensors around the system, indoor temperature, outdoor temperature, gas pressures to help you as a technician diagnose. And they come at a cost. There might be $300 or $400. New Zealand dollars or to get those tools, and they're individual tools for individual manufacturers. But if you're a technician that's working on those multiple types of systems, very valuable. Once you start seeing that live stream data, and you're troubleshooting a system that, let's say it's slightly short on refrigerant, and it's really hard to diagnose something like that when you've got those electric expansion valves and they're trimming all the time, and knowing what position that electric expansion valve is in is hard, isn't it? If you don't have a tool like that to tell you it's actually 80% or, um, and you sort of, but by having those diagnostic tools, you can see quite quickly that you're, on an average day, but you're maxed out on your ET, your electric expansion valve, then more than likely, if everything's clean and your filter's clean, your coils are clean, you got your superheating subcooling starting to move around, you might be short, and just all that information helps you become a better tech, and I love that, and I know from hearing your podcasts and the things that you kind of similar mindset, you've got more information, makes you a better tech. If you can help understand it and share it with others, it's all a good thing. And I've learned a bunch from your channel. And I think one of your recent stories was those heat pump systems that come pre-charged that are DIY. I
Yeah.
think it was the last one I heard. And probably a similar mindset to you. I'm like, well, if that's some of those systems, if they're going that way, that's I don't think that you wouldn't be able to here in New Zealand because you've got to be licensed. But I guess that homeowners make mistakes, and you probably end up getting the service call anyway. And to be honest, it's probably not the type of systems I'm going to be working on. So,
Well,
or the
here's
customer that I really want anyway. And
here I
yeah,
want to say something about the technology that I asked you your opinion on. Most of this is coming from the residential side because this was a residential unit that this video was in. A lot of these residential techs don't realize is we've been plugging laptops into machinery for decades now to get this information. For decades. The first
yes,
Mitsubishi multi-zone system I ever installed was commissioned with a guy from Mitsubishi that showed up with a laptop, and he plugged it in, and that's how, and this is like over 20 years ago. So it's just transitioning into the residential world, and they're freaking out. They're literally freaking out, but the technology's been around forever, and it's been proven to be efficient. It's proven to work well. Um, Everybody thinks that they're going to be changing out boards and compressors within a short amount of time, but if we protect our machines right with surge and
yeah,
over under voltage protection, these things are minimized big time. And it's just all about the correct install of the machine. The troubleshooting side of it, as I said, if you don't understand how a circuit board works in general, my suggestion is you figure it out. You figure out how a circuit board works, and it's very simplified to me. I mean, it
yeah,
takes power in, it's got logic in the middle, and power goes out. It's also got some inputs from sensors and stuff like that. You need to know that. You need to know what sensor inputs are, and it's easy. There's usually a thermistor chart. You can look it up. That
yes,
thermistor at 70 degrees should read
yes,
this. If it's not, it's probably faulty. So
Yeah.
there's so many ways we can learn how to be better technicians, and saying that it's too hard, it's going to break, it's more things to go wrong, is just an excuse of stepping out of your comfort zone to me. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. 100%. Um, I used to, when I worked for Pacific Coast Train there in the States, it was, you couldn't work on any of the chillers at the time without having a laptop plugged in. You'd have what you'd see what's on the display,
Yeah.
but, being able to have the factory plug-in tool and, gives you just a wealth of information, that you'd bring up but that's right, yeah, so great point, yeah, so yes, for residential installs and things that I'm doing, I have a smart application that I use to, configure and set up systems,
Hmm.
and this is
Yep.
residential. I have a laptop there which plugs in different tools to help me troubleshoot. Yeah, that's a great point. Moving from the commercial base application down to the resi, we're seeing it in the resi level now. Yeah, and there is a lot more learning you can do, but a lot of those manufacturers have those classes you can attend, to get their certification. And I'd encourage, the young techs, or even the old techs out there, to reach out to those brand manufacturers that you wanted to get behind. You mentioned the City Multi, the Mitsubishi Electric, or Bacon, or whatever it might be that you're interested in, and do those courses, get a little bit more knowledge, and you won't be as dangerous on site. You'd be able to troubleshoot, and some of those tools, as can communicate out to a journeyman. If you're on site and you're a young tech and you're collecting information and you're still having issues with troubleshooting a system, you could share that live information with a journeyman or someone more senior, and that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool because that's the first thing when you call a journeyman and you go, it's not working. Okay, so
That's what they
what's
don't
the
want to
amp
hear that.
draw?
Yeah,
What's the super? What's the subcooling? What's oh, I haven't checked that yet. Well, go check that and call me back.
come
Well,
back.
now
Yeah,
all they have to do with this kind of stuff is take a screenshot of it all and go
yeah.
here. Do you mind looking through this and helping me out a little bit? And it's all there. It just makes everything a lot more efficient.
I think you're probably from the similar generation where you and I, probably a little bit scared to call our journeyman at certain times if we didn't have
Oh,
that not pad out
terrified,
with all that stuff. And
terrified.
there were times where you'd hear, cussing language come down the phone and it would hang up. And
Yeah.
in those days, if they didn't want you to call back, they used to just take their antenna out of their mobile phone, and then you couldn't get them anyway. Right?
There was one journeyman that I worked with, and I wasn't with him at this point in time, but somebody else was with him, and an apprentice called him, and I guess the apprentice was annoying him with the amount of questions he was asking, and he was talking, he answered again for the 3rd or 4th time, he's like, "Yeah, what now?" And he just he threw his phone across the roof and then just kept working, and you could hear the guy, like, 20 feet away, the phone's on the ground, and he's still going on, he's still talking, like, not even realizing. So, yeah,
That's great.
I've been there with the grumpy journeyman that gets frustrated easily, but honestly, if the apprentice is not calling with the correct information, it is frustrating because you can't help them if they don't have it, right? So, anyway, catch 22, I guess, but I mean, I know you gotta go. I know you gotta get running there and stuff like that, so I really appreciate the time today, Mick, and,
Yeah, it's good to
it's
talk to you
always
too,
good
and it's
talking to you.
nice to share. Always talk about our different countries and similarities there. And man, if you ever down this part of the world, you've always got a place to stay, or family, or whatever, mate. So yeah, it's a beautiful country. Encourage anyone to pop down to New Zealand, check it out.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.